Can you even hear me? Quarterback and tight end rankings, week 9, presented by UrbanandM.com. Literally can't see. I'm writing this on Thursday night for Friday's video. Expect more videos later every week for the other unit groupings like wide receiver, running back, and waivers. Click the playlist in the top right so you don't miss anything. God. I can't. I'm sorry. I tried. Between industry-leading data, Vegas sportsbooks, and expert analysis, we provide optimal, data-driven rankings for your redraft lineups. You see the tiers. Pay attention. There's 28 starting quarterbacks this week. That's about 8 set to dominate, 9 set for battle, and 11 better off forgotten. And look, I don't like that these are the only 2 here, and I have to talk about it, but this is the hard truth. And as cringe as it is, Mahomes stands alone. 303 over-under, 297 total yards per game, and 2.6 tutties per game. Josh Allen, 274 over-under, 260 total yards per game, with 2.4 tutties per game. They throw, they rush, they score the most. Games are set for 27 to 26. For fantasy, there should be a ton of action, and it should be mostly on the ground, probably with their own little leggies. A tiers for the rest of the elite quarterbacks, except for about 260 yards. There's 5, and they're all set to score at least 2 touchdowns per game. Now first, it's Dickie Dak and Indianapolis Jones. 264 over-under for Prescott, 268 yards per game, 2.1 tutties. 250 over-under for Jones, 268 yards per game, and 2.1 touchdowns as well. They're producing identical high-octane offenses right now. And guess what? Dak gets the Cards' 25th worst defense, and Jones gets the Pittsburgh league worst defense. That's why they're at 3-4. Hallelujah. That's what happens when the number 1 and 2 offenses face bottom 8 secondaries. Herbert Hancock, 299 yards per game. Fat Stafford, 267 yards per game. They're next. It's a 259 over-under for Herbert, 252 over-under for Stafford. For Herbert, it's a very impressive 2 touchdowns per game. Almost elite, but he gets a chance to look like the best quarterback in football anyways because he faces the Titans and they're set to win by 10 points. For Matt Stafford, he's got a massive 2.4 tutties per game and he's set to win 29-15 this week facing the visiting Saints who are rolling out Tyler Goff. And Drake Maye to finish out A tier, 264 over-under, 284 yards per game, and 2.2 tutties per game. And we can thank the Falcons' number 1 pass defense as to why he's not ahead of Matt or Justin this week, in spite of being 5-point favorites. But hey, top 7 is great. That's the top 7 quarterbacks for week 9. B tier is about 250 yards and not quite 2 touchdowns. It's Kyler Duty and Sherwin. I paint my nails. Williams. First, and listen, I hear the groans over K1, and this is fantasy, okay? It's not real life. Murray faces the 2nd worst defense this week, and Caleb faces the 3rd worst defense. So their 250 over-under projections and meager 1.7 touchdowns per game, they'll be just fine. All right, their teams are set to win for 26 points, 27 points this week, and they'll get more credit than that than other quarterbacks, probably once again because they're going to use their little leggies. All right, let's keep it rolling. At 10, it's UrbanandM.com. UrbanandM.com is my company my best friend and I started in 2020. We literally make everything ourselves by hand. We have earrings, rings, necklaces, bracelets, tie clips, apparel, and more. Over a dozen curated gemstones and 100 handcrafted products. If you need a gift or something special for yourself, use the promo code in the description. Find something you love. Buy it today. Back to the video. If you like to spend money and look good, shop at my store, www.urbanandm.com. But if you don't, because you hate looking good, you hate cool stuff, you hate yourself, you hate me, you can just subscribe for free. Free is good. Free is awesome. My family doesn't need to eat. Just worry about Jayden Daniels at 10 and his matchup with Seattle. 268 over-under, 248 yards per game, and close to 2 touchdowns with 1.8 tuggies. The game's set 23-25. It's a close one. For fantasy, he takes the edge over Jordan Love and Jared Goff thanks to his legs. Love and Goff, they're set for 235 yards or so, but should accommodate with those ever so slightly elevated 1.9 tutties, 2.1 tutties per game, and dreamy, but easy, maybe too easy, 10-point victories against Carolina and the Vikings this week. They're looking at 29 points each for their teams, but if you take away the whole bonus rushing score for Green Bay and Lions that they almost certainly will have, you get 3 very similar fantasy quarterback outlooks. That's the top 12. C tier is about 240 yards, and this is where we end up on the other side of the ball in those tough games. And it's Sam Darnold, Jaxson Dart, Joe Flacco, and Trevor, T-Law Touchdown Jesus, who needs a new name. They're all set for 242-ish total yards and score about 1.5 touchdowns per game as a team. Darnold and Dart have the higher upside. Darnold's the safest. Dart, he's got the higher ceiling. They both face bottom 20 pass defenses. Not too bad. Flacco, look, he looks like he's going to go. But just remember that he's not going to be 100%. A shoulder injection before or during the game is not going to elevate him. He's in a close game, high-scoring game with the Bears, but they're still set to lose by a field goal. All right? That's the truth. Pay attention to these projections. And listen, Trevor, 240 over-under, 247 yards per game, only 1.6 touchdowns, but they're facing the Raiders. The Raiders, the second worst offense and bottom 10 defense. And the Jags, they're still only set to win by a field goal. Only. Okay? And it's a close game. It's not a high-scoring game like Flacco's game. It hurts to hear, but I'm not going to lie to you. That's the top 16. Now it's 220 to 230 yards and only tough and only losing matchups. Rodgers set for 223 yards against what should be a soft secondary, and yet 2.3 touchdowns per game is not enough, and they are set to be outpaced and held to 23 points in a loss, which sounds like their poor defense is hurting the effectiveness of their offense. Bo Nix is set for 226 yards this week. But wait, what about his 247 yards per game and 2.3 tutties per game? What's going on? The Houston's fourth best defense is what's going on. And look, the Broncos defense, they're seventh best. But they're piping down Stroud and his 257 yards per game as well. Both of these teams, opposing defenses, are going to make these two look like they're not good quarterbacks. Okay? 19 points for Nix, 20 points for Stroud. It's going to be unwatchable in real life and borderline unstartable for fantasy and offensive players involved. All of them. And now it's the rest, less than 220 yards. Some of them less than 200 yards. I would not start J.J. McCarthy, Mac Jones, Michael Penix, Geno Smith, Cam Ward, Tyler Shuff. It's screenshots at the end. Let's do tight ends now. We've got about 12 tight ends with respectable starts. So that should be, one for everybody, right? Surely that all worked out. No one's picking from D tier down here. Right? S tier is 60 yards or more. We've got 4 this week. It's Trey McBride. Reuniting with Kyler, except for 68 receiving yards this week. It's been 73 yards per game in his last 2 games. Tyler Warren, 57 over-under, 62 yards per game. And listen, McBride and Warren, they get that Cowboys and Steelers defense who allow a combined 94% success rate for opposing tight ends. What does that mean? It means rocket. Hallelujah. Rocket. Tucker Kraft at 3, 60 over-under, 67 yards per game, 143 yards on National Tight End Day. Super cringe to say and read, but I can forgive everyone because Tucker scores 90% of the time. Wow. And new to the S tier, the 6'5", 236-pound monster. That would be higher, honestly, if he didn't face the Titans this week, which sounds laughable, but they hold 70% of tight ends to under projections. So you can be afraid or believe in Gadsden and hit 6 targets for 64 yards and 0.66 touchdowns per game. That's the top 4 tight ends this week. A tier is for the rest of the elite week 9 tight ends, and it's Bowers, Kelsey, Kittle. And listen, if Bowers wasn't coming off injury and Kelsey and Kittle weren't facing over 500 tight end stop Ds, there would be 7 tight ends in S tier, which is insane. But Bowers is coming off of injury, and Kelsey and Kittle will be ever so slightly limited with these matchups against difficult tight end defenses. So we're still talking about 50 yards and 6 targets for everyone. It's just 10 yards and a target less, okay, than what we would have expected. That's your top 7. Let's go to B tier. And we've got 4 tight ends set for 40 yards and 5 targets. It's Big Ferg, Kyle Pitts, Sr., Sam LaPorta, and Dalton Kincaid. Hallelujah. They can all go for 50 yards, but only Ferguson should make it to the end zone. Against the Cardinals, terrible defense. Kyle Pitts is limited with an ankle injury, and the Falcons LaPorta and the Lions, they're going to win. The Vikings stop tight ends half the time, so LaPorta's looking at a 15% chance for the end zone, down from 30, which is already And we're getting stuck with 9 points here, which isn't too bad. It's just not what you want from names this high. These names specifically, and Kincaid, he's got it the worst, from 52 yards per game to just over-under set at 36 yards. Why? Because he faces the Chiefs, and the Chiefs hold opposing tight ends to the under 75% of the time. Yes, sir! Is he talented enough to be the 25% that breaks out? Sure. Is that most likely going to happen? No. That's why he's at 11. That's how quickly it falls apart in the tight end landscape. That's your top 11 tight ends. We didn't even get to top 12 before depression. C tier begins. Our last 5 options, really 3 before you're cooked. It's 30.
Today,
it's 30 to 40 yards in a dream. Let's lay out Loveland, Theo Johnson, and Zachary Ertz. This is easy. They're all set for 35 yards, and all 3 have just over a 50% chance to score a touchdown this week, thanks to these under 500 tight end stop rates that they face. The Bengals, the Niners, and the Seahawks, all close and or winnable. It's humble. It's meager, but it's honest and it's fair. Now for Jawan Johnson and TJ Hawkinson, they close C tier, and they're set for 30 yards in spite of facing 30% tight end stop rates, because even with the soft matchup, they're still not expected to score. And if you shouldn't bet on it, you guessed it. You shouldn't hope for it. All right? And if you're still searching somehow, for some cursed reason, it's D tier and like 25 yards. It's A.J. Barner, Hunter Henry, Evan Ingram, Dalton Schultz. And look, Barner, Henry, they score sometimes. And really, that's all that differentiates these 4 projected performances. Ingram and Schultz, they don't score. And while there's a chance, the edge goes to Barner and Henry. What does not going to score a touchdown look like? Less than 1%. That's what it looks like. Hopefully you can trust me and rest assured. Now, don't start the rest. It's Fant, Chig Nkonkwo, Pat Fryermuth, Johnny Smith, Taysom Hill. That's your top quarterbacks. That's your top tight ends. Ask me questions down in the comments. Click the playlist. Check the other rankings vids for the rest of the rankings for week 9. Like and subscribe. Turn on the post notifications so you can see all the videos each week before you submit your lineups. It's free. It's a great value. But if you like to spend money and look your best, you want to win fantasy football, use the promo code and spend it in my store. And watch some more videos.
Let's